AFL 23 is coming out, and this is my wish list of what I would love to see, and I think what a lot of the community wants to see from the new game, which is being developed by Big Ant Studios. Anyway, before I get into the video, smash that like and subscribe button, as this video will be broken into 4 parts: career mode, gameplay, visuals, and extras. With all that said and done, watch the video, please. Career mode. Now, career mode in AFL Evolution and AFL Evolution 2 was utterly atrocious. Not much really went on. It was unrealistic and just a waste of time, really. Now with AFL Evolution, not AFL Evolution anymore, AFL 23, these are the things I'd like to see from career mode. Number 1. Start from a grassroots level. You should start as a 17, 18-year-old from a grassroots level and make your way up. You can make your way up within a year, you can make your way up to the AFL within 3 years. It all depends on how you play. I think that would be a really cool aspect, like how Cricket 22 did it, where you started off with club cricket. You know, maybe you could start off playing for your local club in the Bellarine Football League for Torquay or Barwon Heads, and gradually play for the next big play in the under-18s league for the Geelong Falcons, and then play in the AFL. Or you can go BFL or grassroots league to the VFL, where then you can be put in the rookie draft or just generally drafted. There's a lot of ways Big Ant can do this, and I'd love to see how they do career mode, especially the start. Number 2 is cutscenes. Something AFL Evolution 2 really lacked, and it didn't really make it feel authentic, as it more made it felt like a computer program, not a career mode. All the best games like FIFA, NBA 2K, Cricket 22 all have an authentic career mode with cutscenes. Now, there doesn't necessarily have to be voice actors in this. It could just be how Cricket 22 does it, where a man just opens his mouth and words come out on the bottom of his screen. Or how FIFA does it with their manager, which is quite similar to Cricket 22. But nevertheless, cutscenes would be great. Like, you could be horrible in a game, and they might ask you what was wrong with your performance today, and you'll have a selection with answers. You know, one might be an arrogant answer, one might be a humble answer, and one might be a disappointed answer. There's a lot of ways they could do this, as said before, and I think it would just really bring that authenticity to the game, which all AFL games have lacked. Number 3 is draft and trades. The draft in AFL Evolution 2 was a big upgrade from AFL Evo, as you didn't choose the team you went to. You were drafted based on your performance. But it didn't always really work, because I could have won the best player in the under-18s league and be picked 12th overall by the Gold Coast Suns, while Geelong had the first pick, which I'll mention a bit later in the gameplay and the extras. It doesn't sit right. It should be, as mentioned before, a massive cutscene of a big room, and there's a guy standing up there announcing each pick, and you can skip to your pick, which could be the 3rd pick, it could be the 80th pick, it could be the 20th pick. You could go undrafted. I feel like being undrafted could really be cool, and you've got to go to the rookie draft, and maybe a VFL team might sign you, or you have to go back to grassroots footy. I feel like that would be quite cool. And so many other possibilities for this, but I feel like the way 2K does it, especially 2K23, how they announce the draft, Adam Silver gets up and he announces the 18th pick the San Antonio Spurs select whatever your player's name is, like Jefferson or Dharma or something like that. I feel like they just really make it more like a career mode, because there's a lot of room to improve here. It needs it. And then trades and free agency. I feel like trades and free agency in AFL Evo were pretty bad, because you just sign 1-year contracts everywhere. And honestly, I feel like you should be able to request a trade, and that trade might not even be able to go through. Or free agency, you'll have the teams there, but teams that want you, but you have to go discuss your contract and things like that. I think that would be quite a cool aspect. I know I've said cool a lot, but I'm just so excited for this game. And trades, a trade could not go through, or you could just be randomly traded. Say one team wants one player, and the team that wants the player is willing to give up you to get that player. So you might be playing for Collingwood, and Collingwood really want Jake Melksham from the Melbourne Demons. So they might trade you for Jake Melksham, and you go play for Melbourne now. You don't want to go play for Melbourne, but you are playing for Melbourne. And Melbourne take on your contract until free agency, or you request a trade. Anyway, that's career mode done. Now let's get into gameplay. Gameplay. So much room to improve on this as well. And I've got a lot of ideas for this. First of all, make it so you have a substitute. Like, you don't just have 4 people on the bench, you have a 5th sub that you need to bring on if someone gets injured, so you don't have 3 subs. But, we've seen set shot kicking, it looks good. There's nothing really to complain about in gameplay, maybe apart from the fact that the teams need to be improved a bit, like marking needs to be improved. It's not just everyone jumping up at the same time. It's actually authentic, and people are, trying to punch, and marks don't happen as frequently. I feel like that would be quite nice, but once again, gameplay is probably the least need for improvement part, as it was pretty good in AFL Evolution 2. Obviously there was some glitches and some aspects, like you should be able to push your team forward or push them back during a game. I feel like the tactics weren't quite there, and you should be able to have a ruckman for certain parts of the game. Like Geelong don't have Tom Hawkins in the middle, but AFL Evolution 2 had him in the middle. He rucks up in the forward line, while Reece Stanley will do the midfield and Mark Blitzarves will do the wing and the back line. I feel like that would be good. And goals, the kicking goals is obviously going to be a bit better. Snaps. Say you're sideways to the goal, I think it should automatically snap it. Because in AFL Evo, you just drop punt it while facing away, and it just wouldn't really work. Whilst I think distance of the kick should be a player should have a distance radar or distance stat. So say someone like Patrick Dangerfield, for example, can kick 55 to 60. But someone like Tyson Stengel or Brad Close can kick 50. So maybe their stat might be like 80 kick distance, and Paddy might be 90. Well, so you don't go for 65 metre shots with Brad Close, because quite frankly that would be very hard. And I feel like player overalls should be fixed as well, because, or frequently updated, because the last AFL game had Tyson Sengels at 69. I feel like, maybe if a player's playing really badly, should be downgraded from, say, Paddy Cripps is averaging 12 touches a game and 4 tackles. Instead of being a 92, 93, he should be an 81, not an 81, like an 85, 86. But just a downgrade and upgrade frequently for players based on their current form. And that would bring a new aspect into real-esque gameplay. Like if a team isn't playing well, then their overalls will be lower than a team who is in form, but not much. Team who is in form. That's all for gameplay, really. I can't think of much else. I think visuals is the biggest. Now we get to visuals, which is something I think is the most important. I'm just going to straight out say it. Give us Guernseys. Give us, Indigenous Guernseys, retro Guernseys, if a team releases them. And update the crowd. Because the crowd in AFL Evo was better than Evo 2. Because it felt authentic. It felt like a big roar instead of just a bit of a neutral, softer one. And update graphics. We've seen the graphics so far and they look good. I don't know if they're fully finished. Celebrations need to be updated. I feel like more celebrations than just a casual point to the sky or, lift the fist, celebrate. I think that would be quite good. And stadiums, update. Give us retro stadiums. Give us Subiaco Oval or give us Waverley Park. I think that'd be a nice addition. Or let us create stadiums. Let us create stadiums. Let us create teams. Let us create Guernseys. Let us do all that stuff. The game, previous AFL Evos hasn't let us do all that stuff. Obviously Evo 2 had a Guernsey creator, but it wasn't a very good one. And Big Ant Studios has done a lot of stuff like that with the cricket games, and this is the perfect opportunity to put it in a footy game. Obviously each players are going to have certain kicking styles, because we've seen Buddy, seen Paddy. We're yet to see any others. But either way, it'll be good. I'm also really hoping that they fix the crowds, as I mentioned earlier, for the size of the stadium. Like it's with the MCG on Grand Final Day. You're going to have a bigger roar in Mars Stadium between Gold Coast and Brisbane. Not Gold Coast, Brisbane, Gold Coast and the Bulldogs. Also needs the Grand Final and Premiership Guernsey patches. Like, we saw that in the leak that we got, that they had the Grand Final patches on, both Buddy and Paddy. I think that'd be quite good. Say you're playing as Carlton, you make the Grand Final against Port Adelaide, you both have the Grand Final patches. And next year, if you win, you have a gold logo. I think that would be quite nice. We'll also bring in Indigenous jerseys and retro Guernseys and loads of other things. And I think another good part would be able to play a game with different coloured shorts. Like Geelong would play in their Clash Guernsey, but they wouldn't wear white shorts because they'd only wear it against North Melbourne, who'd be wearing white on white, or Geelong would be wearing blue on blue. That doesn't really realistically work. So I would fix that. Make it so you can wear the Clash jersey with blue shorts, or an Indigenous jersey with blue shorts. Or say you're the Gold Coast Suns, you can wear your red jersey with white shorts, or your blue jersey with red shorts. So I hope they fix that. And I'd also like to commentating. I'd like to have better commentators, and you don't have to have BT and a lot of big commentators commentating every game. For smaller games, have smaller commentators in, or don't even have real ones. Have like a guy named Michael Jones, who's just a voice actor who's commentating the game. Have like the voice actor do multiple commentators. And scoreboards is another thing. You know how Channel 7 and Foxtel both have their own scoreboard? We'll incorporate that to the new footy game. Have it, if you're playing on a Friday night, you have the Channel 7 looking scoreboard, and on a Saturday afternoon you have a Fox Footy looking scoreboard. Because, quite frankly, Channel 7 scoreboard is not happening on a 4:30 Saturday night game. Anyway, that's it for visuals. I think basics, what we all want is Guernsey updates and better graphics and probably a better crowd. I think a better crowd would be good. But those are the three more important ones as we go into extras, which is the final. Right, first of extras, gonna straight up say we want an ultimate team, we want to pack players, we want to sell players in the market. How would this work? Well, you can buy different versions of the game, which I'll get into for a second. So it's basically like FIFA Ultimate Team, where you have a card, you put your players on that team, etc. I won't get too much into it because I feel like a lot of other YouTubers like Twisty3 and JP1 have done that very well. So go check their videos out. But one thing they didn't cover is the game cover. See what I did there? Nice. I would like to see a Brownlow edition, a Premiership edition, and a regular edition with a Legends edition as well, like the 2K did. Or FIFA do it. You could have the regular edition, which is just your star color athlete, which this year could be anyone. Maybe pick a random player like Isaac Heaney, or I don't know, Dustin Martin could be your color athlete. But you have the Premiership version, which is, you know, the Geelong team with the trophy, and you have like Isaac Smith gradiented into the background. And then you could have the Brownlow version, which is Paddy Cripps with his Brownlow medal. And then you could have the Legends edition, which is one of the Gary Ablett players or something like that. And each one would cost more than the other. Like a regular edition would cost $100. The Premiership edition would cost $120. Brownlow edition would cost $150. Legend edition $200. And maybe if you buy Premiership edition, you get a little Geelong Cats Premiers thing, or you get the Brownlow version, you get Ultimate Team points that you can use to buy packs of players. And if you get the Legend edition, you get that legend, you get a random legend on your team. I think that would be quite cool. Like maybe you can do something else with the Geelong Premiership one. Like maybe you could have like a little replica Guernsey, or maybe like a little book or a little player figure. There's a lot they could do with this, and I think it would be quite cool. Another thing is, I would like to see pro clubs. I think pro clubs would be quite cool. You know, you play as your own player in the team, and I'm not going to get too much into that because I honestly cannot be bothered. I was doing retro Guernseys, as mentioned earlier, but not like, you know, Geelong bringing back their 1980s, like Freo bringing back their 1990s Guernsey. I feel like it'd be quite cool, you know, to have select Guernseys from past years. So, North Melbourne's 2016 away Guernsey sets, or West Coast 2015 Guernseys, or Hawthorn's 2015 Guernseys. That would be cool. And I'd love to see the ability to create your own player, put them on a team, which is already in the game, I know, and have face cams for that player. But they have in 2K. They have 2K23 out where you can scan your face and you're in the game, you're in career mode. I'd like to put that into career mode. I probably should have mentioned it then. But anyway, that will wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you have a great day. Actually, JK, there's one last thing. Stadium capacity. You're not going to have 100. You should be able to adjust the amount of people at a game. Sorry for the fake goodbye, but I needed to mention this. Say you're playing at the MCG and it's Sydney versus Melbourne or something. You're not going to have 90,000 in that game, unless if it's maybe a grand final, because quite frankly, Melbourne don't get a lot of support at the MCG. So you should be able to adjust it to the max capacity. There's two ways they could do it. They could have percentage capacity, or they could have it in the amount of seats filled. Like GMHBA Stadium will have 40,000 seats, so you can adjust it so only 10,000 seats are filled, maybe 25, 30. Maybe you could jump up by like 1,000, or it could jump up by percentage, which is basically 1,000 for the MCG. But anyway, now we say goodbye. So sorry about that. But anyway, have a great afternoon, and I hope your team wins the premiership, unless you're a Geelong supporter. Up the Catters.